Hey, it's Brewbird. In this video, we're talking to one of the co-founders of the Borders Distillery, John Fordyce, to learn more about his time selling whiskey in Asia. So let's go! So how did you find yourself working in Asia?
To sell whiskey.
Yes.
I first went there on the handover day in Hong Kong, 1997, 30th of June. And I went there to become the head of the Asia Pacific region for William Grant & Sons, the owners of the Glenfiddich, Balvenie and Grant's brands.
Okay, and so did you work for...
I'd been working for them for 3 years before that, doing the same job, more or less, a little bit different, in Southern Europe, so Spain, Portugal, Italy, Greece.
Okay, and how did you get that position in the first place?
I applied for it.
Oh.
After I came back from Latin America, I applied for it, and I was hired. So it was just simple.
Okay. And before moving to Hong Kong for work, had you been there before?
I first went to Hong Kong in 1986 when I was in the textile industry. And we had a factory in Mauritius and we sourced a lot of stuff from Hong Kong, so backwards and forwards. And then I was there 1988, 1990, and then not until 1997 did I go back.
And how many years did you spend working in Hong Kong?
7. I was there for 7, just shy of 7 years, yeah.
Okay. And did you experience any form of culture shock when you first got there?
No, I think the only thing that I was a bit surprised by was the pace of everything, the pace of life, pace of business. Everybody's rushing around everywhere. People use Hong Kong as a base to get all over Asia Pacific. Fantastically busy airport. In those days it was Kai Tak, so you flew in and the plane was aimed at Lion Mountain and you did a hard left and came down on that short runway, so it was all quite exciting.
And did you find that you were treated very differently as a non-Asian person working there?
No, I wouldn't say so.
Okay.
No. Hong Kong's a global city.
That's true.
Everybody fits in Hong Kong.
Okay. And were you able to learn the language?
No, I started off with good intentions, and I quite quickly discovered, because I was spending a lot of time in Korea and Japan, Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, people weren't very enthusiastic if you could speak Japanese but not speak Korean, or could speak Korean but not speak Mandarin. And it just became easier to speak, just to communicate in English. I speak Portuguese, which was useful in Japan, but it was English really most of the time.
Huh. Isn't that a big Portuguese population?
There's a big Japanese population in Japan, in Brazil, and there's a big Brazilian population in Japan.
Oh, right. Actually, I knew that. My friend is Japanese and from Brazil.
Yeah.
Do you have any difficulties living and working there without speaking Cantonese?
No.
No.
We had a fantastic team of people. We had an office in Causeway Bay, and we had a fantastic team of people. And anything you didn't understand, you just asked.
Okay.
And it was explained to you.
Okay. And it sounds like you did a lot of traveling around Asia in your job.
That was the job. So the Hong Kong was just the head office. We didn't really have much business there. Our business was in PRC, Korea, Japan, Thailand, Taiwan, Indonesia, Malaysia, latterly Vietnam when it opened up. And then we had a big satellite business in Australia.
Okay. And can you just tell us a little bit about your job? What did you do?
Well, we had teams of people based around the region, and we had a central sales team based in Hong Kong. And we sold everything through distributors. So our job was to go and support the distributors, do the marketing for the brands, make sure that all of the stuff that was required from Scotland, from the Scottish office and from the London office, was executed properly in Asia Pacific. That was the main job.
So how does the Asian whiskey drinker differ from the UK whiskey drinker?
I think in Asia, what I found was that drinking whiskey is a very social occupation. So it's either after work or it's before you go on to another thing. It tends to be done by sharing bottles, bars. Prestige is important, but the quality and the type of product is really key, like it is everywhere. When I was there, Taiwan was just starting to take on the malt whiskey revolution. Japanese whiskey was just starting to grow. We were just starting to sell Scotch in Beijing and Shanghai and Guangzhou. The Korean market had exploded from the early 90s. And it was all about discovery and excitement, but mostly it's all about sociability. And that's, I would say, is the majority of the business. And then the other part of the business is about gifting. So there's a great tradition across all of Asia of giving each other presents and presents for everything, anniversaries, birthdays, reunions. And that was a big part of our business.
Whereas here you'd say selling whiskey is more about...
Selling whiskey, I think, has got probably a bigger product focus in the UK. But in every country's got a different way of drinking it. So in France, it's an aperitif. In Portugal, it's a young person's drink with lots of water. Japanese have it as an aperitif. British people have it quite a lot as a digestif, or maybe in Scotland certainly as a sort of a chaser, a whiskey chaser like they do in the United States. So every country has its peculiarity, but the things that are in common is it's a social drink, it's better shared than on your own, and there's a lot to appreciate about it in terms of how it's made, the history and the heritage, and I think that's why Scotch is successful.
How is whiskey or alcohol in general marketed differently in Asia than in the UK?
I'm not sure that the differences are that great. There's a lot of emphasis on the values of the brand you're trying to promote. So where's it from? How's it made? Who makes it? There's, I think, probably in Asia, certainly when I was there was a bigger emphasis on mixability. So what could you mix it with? So the Japanese have mizuwari, and also whiskey with food, like the Koreans.
What was that Japanese?
Mizuwari, so that's just whiskey and water.
Oh, okay.
But it all came about when Nika whiskey started up, which was a Japanese man married to a Scottish girl. They started Nika whiskey, and then nowadays it's obviously green tea. It's very popular. Coca-Cola. Anything with ginger, because ginger is a big flavour in Asia. And I think mixability is a growing trend in Scotch whisky, and because it's such a social drink, and you want to drink it either short or long, depending on the context in Asia, then that was probably the thing we really focused on, which is the taste delivery, quality of the product.
Do you think selling whiskey in the UK is more or less difficult than selling it in Asia?
I don't see much difference, honestly. It's a very competitive market in both places. Consumers have a tremendous choice. They have access through the magic of the smartphone to infinite information about your brands. And I think, you just have to adopt the same posture, which is being straightforward and making sure that you're communicating the values behind what you're trying to persuade people to drink.
Okay. And so in Korea they have soju, and in Japan they have sake.
Yeah.
So did you see
And
that
in China, baijiu. I mean, every country has its own local spirit tradition, and Scotch is always imported. So, it's positioned slightly different to a local spirit. But in all these countries, local spirits are bigger than Scotch.
Yes.
The drinking cultures. And these spirits like sochu and sake and baijiu have all been designed around meal times. So it's either accompanying meals or it's toasting meals. Whereas Scotches tend to sort of went into the bar segment, if you like, as opposed to the mealtime segment. So both coexist perfectly happily.
What did you like most about working in Hong Kong?
Well, the buzz. It's a very buzzy place to work. It feels like you're plugged into an electric socket because everything's going at such a pace. There were a lot of drinks companies based in Hong Kong at the time, and it was before the PRC entered WTO. So there were huge levels of activity, and then we had the Asian crash in '98, and then it just went on and on and on, right through to the tsunami in Sri Lanka. So every year brought something different. Hong Kong was changing a lot after the handover. It was just a very exciting place to be.
And what did you like least about working in Hong Kong?
On reflection, looking back, probably too much time in aeroplanes, probably.
You have a lot of interesting stories about your time working there. Would you care to share some?
I don't really have any sort of particular stories. It was the industry was growing fast. The region was economically becoming extremely powerful, and we just kind of took part and went along with the ride, really.
And why did you decide to leave?
It was time for a change, and I'd done a good period in Hong Kong, and so I just wanted to change. So I moved into the wine business.
Now our last and most important question. If we had dim sum together and I ordered a plate of chicken feet, would you eat it?
Prefer goose feet.
Really?
Compared to chicken feet, but I know I've eaten chicken feet. It's a bit fiddly for me, I find. But our local dim sum restaurant in Lee Building in Hai San Do used to serve the most amazing dim sum, and chicken feet was usually a part of the menu. So.
What's your favorite dim sum dish?
My favourite is probably, it's very difficult. It would be probably shrimp dumpling, I would think.
Oh, that's a classic.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you for your time.
No, absolute pleasure. Thank you for your questions.
Wow, I was actually quite surprised to hear that selling whiskey in Asia isn't all that different from selling whiskey in the UK. I thought there'd be an entirely different marketing strategy. Let me know in the comments down below if you were surprised by anything John said today. I'd like to thank John and the Borders Distillery for featuring in this video. Please support the channel by giving this video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button for more distilling and distillery videos. This is Brewbird, sending good vibes your way. I'll see you next time!